What's up, everyone? It's Dakota Clayball, your friendly realtor and Bayern Munich ultra here in Tampa Bay. The great Bay of Tampa. Anyways, maybe one day I'll get you to buy a house from me or sell your house, either here in Wesley Chapel, Tampa, Florida, or anywhere in Florida. Anyways, you may be noticing I'm not wearing anything Bayern at the moment, but the new German Deutsche Auswärtstrikot, or German away kit. Anyways, I don't know much German, but let's move on. Anyways, I'm going to be wearing it until I get the new Bayern jersey, hopefully within a week or two before the DFB Pokal final. Maybe I might get it sooner, but it has to come from Germany. And everyone wants it. I got it with the cockatoo, or the cockadoo as they call it in Germany. Anyways, I know I started out happy, but this isn't really that happy about Bayern after this week. And honestly, no one should. Bayern Munich just looked exhausted over these last two matches. Today we're talking, unfortunately, about Bayern getting knocked out by PSG. And the 1-1 draw, 6-5 on aggregate against PSG in the Champions League semifinal, which PSG will now play Arsenal of all teams. Anyways, enough on that matchup. I mean, that's going to be kind of PSG to lose. Anyways, and then also the ugly but important 1-0 win Bayern had over Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. Because these were two very, very different. These were two very different games, but they had one thing in common. Bayern just didn't look sharp. Sharp like this jersey. Yeah, you like what I did there? And they haven't looked sharp. They haven't looked... They were defensively strong in this game against Wolfsburg, especially Kim Min-jae, and who should have been man of the match if not for Olise getting the game-winning goal, Jonas Urbig. He had 5 saves, 3 of which I think were one-on-ones. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start talking about PSG's 1-1 Bayern Munich game. Let's start with PSG. And Bayern could not have started this game any worse. 3rd minute. The frickin' third minute. Ousmane Dembélé gets the goal after Bayern were just completely lackadaisical defensively. Slow reactions, poor positioning. Nobody stepping up aggressively enough, and suddenly you're already chasing the game, having to score 2 goals against one of the most dangerous attacking teams in Europe. Because, let's be real, Bayern needed to be on the front foot and had to put men forward, of which they've always done. But once that goal happened, immediately the entire outlook of the match changed. Instead of Bayern controlling the possession and dictating tempo, PSG suddenly got exactly what they wanted. They could sit back more, absorb pressure, and break with pace. And Bayern, they looked rattled early on. Now, let's talk about the controversy, because there's plenty of it in this match. And that's one reason why I didn't kind of want to talk about this too much. But first, there was the handball with Nuno Mendes. At least I think it was Nuno Mendes. I want to say, and honestly, that should have been a second yellow. Regardless, it should have been a second yellow. Second yellow. Instead, the call somehow goes against Limar, and from the replay, it really didn't even look like Limar touched it with his hand or anything. It looked like it touched right here, his tenderloin. I think that's the tenderloin on a human. I don't eat humans, so I don't know. Anyways, that's that first completely changed the atmosphere of the game because they're at home. This is supposed to be a fortress, but only 2 wins now in 13 games at home in a knockout stage in the semifinal. Wild. That completely changed the atmosphere of the game because Bayern fans were sitting there asking, how is that not a decision? Why is the Portuguese ref allowing this to happen? Then, a few minutes later, we get the no-call penalty situation. And yes, the ball did come from a PSG player first. I'll give you that. But when your hand's out like this and it hits it, is that not a penalty if it's in the box? That's unnatural position. Unnatural. Natural. Unnatural. If you're flying like a bird or you're flapping your arms, unnatural. That's where the frustration comes from. Because right now, that handball rule has become filled with gray area. There's no black and white because you give a penalty against Alphonso Davies where it goes off his hip and hits his hand. Penalty to PSG in PSG. The next week at home with the Portuguese ref, nothing. Fans are incensed. Players, managers, commentators, everyone, reporters, they're all confused. Even Karl-Heinz Rummenigge came out talking about these rules needs to be fixed because of the inconsistency is becoming ridiculous, especially with the World Cup, which you'll be seeing this jersey played in maybe once, twice, I don't know. You just want clarity. We just want clarity. That's all the fans want. And always when it's against Bayern, there's no clarity whatsoever, whether it's a Spanish giant, aka Barcelona, UEFA, or Real Madrid or Real Vardrid. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, with all that BS out of the way, Bayern did find a response, but it was just too late. Harry Kane did get the equalizer and once again shows why he has been one of the best signings Bayern has made in years. Because even in games when Bayern aren't playing well, he still finds moments, even though at the 94th minute. But overall, you can't allow a goal in the 3rd minute. You had Olise making some shots, and who knows, the fact that Serge Gnabry got injured, there was no Leonard Carl or Tom Bischoff to sub in on the first leg. There was a incorrect substitution, in my honest opinion, where we shouldn't have brought in Goretzka, but should have been brought on Jackson. Could have altered the first game. Who knows? But it just wasn't Bayern's night. Michael Olise especially looked off, like I said. Now don't get me wrong. He has had attempts. He was going for it. He had his attempts in the first game. It just didn't work out. The finishing touch just wasn't there. And in a lot of big games in years past, it's gone missing. Couple efforts drift wide. Some decision making wasn't quite sharp enough. And you could tell he just didn't have that same explosiveness you've seen recently. Like I said, the entire attack looked a step slower. That didn't feel like the Bayern side that overwhelmed teams over the last month. And this whole season, except for 3 losses. Bayern has only had 3 losses. First one, Arsenal. Second one, Augsburg. Maybe Augsburg. I can't remember. Anyways. And then the PSG. Bayern looked mentally tired. They were physically tired. A team that played massive matches over and over again can only go so far. They played Real Madrid before that. And this game should have been the Champions League final. We all know this. And against PSG, if you're slightly off, they're going to punish you and they're going to sit back and relax. So in the end, 1-1 probably feels fair. Now, fair is a relative term because the ref wasn't for Bayern. But, oh man. Bayern will absolutely look back at the officiating controversies and wonder what could have been. Everyone says that. Now, since we're past that, let's talk about the Wolfsburg 0-1 Bayern. The 1-0 Bayern win over Wolfsburg. Man, I don't know why I said it that way. That was such a weird way to say it. Now, let's move on. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving past. Anyways, honestly, I didn't even watch most of this game. I listened to the first half. I had a showing because I'm a realtor. My wife is also in town, so we did go on some errands. So I listened to it in the car and I watched it right after half. I didn't get to see but the highlights. This performance summed up how I felt about Bayern these last couple of weeks. I've missed quite a few of them, and they've been lacking. It was effective, kind of. Was it pretty? No, not at all. Bayern looked drained again. They had a midweek English week game. That movement, it wasn't crisp. The passing tempo wasn't there. Creativity, it looked limited. And somehow this game should have had more goals from Bayern and probably from Wolfsburg. It is quite funny that Bayern have played Mainz, Heidenheim, and Wolfsburg, all who have been in the relegation fight these past 3 weeks. And then they play Kane, who are safe. They're not going to get relegated or even in the relegation playoff. But more to the game. Bayern just couldn't find their finishing. And then we got something we've never seen in the Bundesliga before. A Harry Kane miss. A penalty miss. What? His first. That means he's now 24 of 25 from the spot in league play. That's an absurd number. Absurd. But the miss itself was strange. Because if you watch closely and the eagle-eye video caught it, the Wolfsburg goalkeeper actually was seen kicking the penalty spot, creating divots beforehand. That looked like it probably played into what happened, because when Harry Kane plants his foot, you can see it shift awkwardly. Now, does that fully excuse the miss? No. But, like when asked post-game against Company, the reporter said, if Messi and Argentina are taking a penalty, you can guarantee that that spot becomes capture the flag, and all the Argentinian players are going to be surrounding Messi, the flag, and the spot where he takes the penalty. But honestly, I don't care. It's better that it's in a useless game. It could have played a role, but honestly, like I said, I don't care. He almost never misses penalties like that. But despite the missed penalty, Bayern still found a way to break through, eventually through the nonchalant king, Michael Olise. And credit to him, because after that PSG match where he struggled, he responded well here. Gets the opening goal and the winning goal and makes the difference. And officially gets man of the match. But I'm going to say this right now. Jonas Urbig, man, he deserves massive recognition for this game because he didn't allow a goal. He had 5 saves. And I think, well, there was one right at the end of the match. And, I mean, Wolfsburg absolutely could have gotten back into that game. But he came up huge in multiple times. His reaction saves, his diving, his flipping, not flipping, but acrobats, whew, his positioning, they were all calm under pressure, or as I like to say, cool, calm, and collected. Dakota Kleeball's 3 C's to confidence. D. Kleeball, Dakota C, and his 3 C's to confidence. But honestly, without him, Bayern might not even have won this game and might have lost by a large margin. But defensively, there were positives there too. Kim Min-jae, he looked much more stable, and yes, Bayern kept a clean sheet. He was taken out at halftime, but it was just for a precaution. Same with Goretzka. Both of them are healthy and should be ready for the coming final 2 games of the season. But even with the clean sheet, they still didn't feel like a dominant Bayern performance. No, not at all. This felt like a team running on fumes and just waiting. It's great that Kompany gave his players 3 days off to get ready for the final match of the season against Köln. And to be fair, Bayern, they really don't have much left to play for domestically. I mean, they have 1 game against Köln, like I said. The intensity naturally drops when you don't have to win games anymore in that sense. Though, they do have 1 more game. DFB Pokal after that. That one's important. Playing Stuttgart in Berlin. Wir fahren nach Berlin. Berlin. Wir fahren nach Berlin. Woo! Hopefully, Bayern will get to celebrate another trophy and have a domestic brace. One thing they haven't been able to do since 2021. No, 2020. Not 21. Anyways, let's talk about Wolfsburg briefly. They got a new kit, crest design, and they were crying, happy about it. But they may be crying for other reasons come the final match day. And that's because of the result. Wolfsburg are tied on 26 points heading into the final match day where they will play fellow 26 point team relegating. They're all in relegation fight. St. Pauli. Because St. Pauli, Wolfsburg, and Heidenheim all have 26 points. No one else is going to be in that battle. So only one of the 3 will make it through. What will happen? Will we see a Wolfsburg St. Pauli truce if they know that Heidenheim is losing? Well, no, that wouldn't happen. They're both out. So all the teams have to win. All of them. But Wolfsburg are in the relegation playoff right now. Whew. Anyways, I know this has been a long video. I've been talking about 2 games, talking about this magnificent jersey. Bayern can still grind results, even when not at their best. We know this. That matters because elite teams don't always play beautiful football. I mean, Chelsea back in the day. The Italian teams. Yeah. Atletico Madrid. Arsenal. But because elite teams don't always play beautiful football, sometimes you survive, you grind, and you just find a way. Bayern Munich finds that way. They just didn't find enough against PSG. Between Harry Kane continuing to produce, Olise responding against Wolfsburg, and Urbig stepping up massively and stopping all the shots, making it a clean sheet for him. There are still positives here. There are still positives to talk about. But I'll leave it with the positives and not the negatives. Anyways, guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, kids of all ages, let me know your thoughts down below. Did Bayern deserve more against PSG? Should the handball rule be completely rewritten? And who was your man of the match? Was it Olise? Was it Jonas Urbig against Wolfsburg? Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. Reach out to your family. Tell them you love them. Make sure they know that, because you never know when it'll be your last. And you know, my motto is always, your needs are the point. Mia sa mia, folks. Tschüss.